March 28th, 2026. Well, as we come to the end of the week, and it looks like there may be some hope for our TSA agents, in that it looks like the President Trump has found some way by declaring a state of emergency and found some funds he can use to pay their salaries, which apparently, just given the logistics, they won't actually get the paycheck, if you will, or the funds transferred into their accounts until Monday. But hopefully that may keep people on the job over the weekend and maybe get people returning. Hopefully, I don't know. The ones that literally resigned, I guess they're out. I don't know if they can be brought back or do you even want to, or just hire new people. But then they'd have to be trained, you see. So that's the logistical problem. But at any rate, of course, a lot of these people are not that highly paid. And of course, that leads to a situation, where they may not be able to sustain their basic, income, mortgages, you know, rent, car payments, whatever. And so that might force them to take action that normally you wouldn't do. And that's kind of what's led to this. So maybe there'll be some forgiveness there on that once payment comes through. However, the rest of Homeland Security is still not getting paid except for ICE and Border Patrol, I guess, which were funded in the big beautiful bill. As in my previous video, which I stand by, I thought it was become obsolete this morning, and then by the evening it's becoming very relevant again. As the key is to focus on the bigger picture, I guess, and go for a reconciliation package if we can't get these people to accept this. Now, the House apparently rejected the compromise, which, as I understand it, was I guess it's a short term, like a couple of months, payment for everything but ICE and Border Patrol. And the theory is, well, they already have money in the one big beautiful bill, so you don't need to, fund it. But on a matter of principle, the House rejects this, as does the president, which I kind of see that point too. So now the House apparently is not even taking this up, and instead they're going to they've I guess passed a alternative bill, which essentially would fund the whole everything until I guess sometime in May. So we'll see. That doesn't even get us to the end of the year. And my proposal might get us even beyond the end of the fiscal year if we go with a big reconciliation package, which, remember, we also have to get funding to replenish the war stocks that are being expended in this conflict, which is still ongoing. And so at any rate, so that's kind of my view on it. I think my attitude has been sort of sustained. And so we can go into some other issues here. If you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and let's get on with the rest of it. Also, I post this on Rumble. Yeah. Now, so that's one thing. The other issue, of course, with reconciliation, we do have a problem that one of our Republicans, a guy named Kevin Riley, who's a congressman from California, has decided to formally leave the Republican Party and declare himself to be an independent. Although he says he's going to still caucus with Republicans for the rest of the term, and he's uncommitted on who he's going to caucus with in the next term. Of course, I think what's going on there is because of the gerrymander thing that they passed in California, and the jungle primary system. I guess his plan is to run as an independent, and perhaps maybe if there isn't. This may be one of those things where there won't be that many Republicans running, and maybe he can at least become a semifinalist, and then in the runoff he will have a chance to win. And being independent, he's sort of trying to drop the whole Republican mystique or something, or whatever you want to call it. And then what he does, who he'll caucus with next time, we don't know, but probably he'll caucus with Republicans, I'm guessing, because of course, he was being a free agent. He can always double stab us in the back at any time he wants to. So, and anyhow, that's another development that kind of plays into the issue of the reconciliation. Is can we keep our majority together enough to pass one? Remember, we have a special election coming up. I think a couple of weeks, week and a half, whatever it is, in the 14th district, I believe it is in Georgia. The district vacated by MTG, the somewhat anti-Semitic Republican lady from that district. She finally got fed up, I guess, because Trump was back in Israel too much and quit. And now she's potentially even thinking about running as an independent for president. And I'm not sure exactly who that would hurt, but I guess us, I don't know. At any rate, but this is a very critical district. We can hope the Republican candidate wins that one. It's a pretty strong Republican area, so I would tend to think we'll win it. Maybe not by the majority we did last time normally, but hey, win is a win in this case because we're barely holding on this whole game. And but I still think focusing on a reconciliation bill is the way to go, and go ahead and throw the defense funding in there too that we need to, sort of a war supplemental. Because even if the war were to quit this minute, we still have billions of dollars of lost equipment we need to replace in order to have basic deterrence just to maintain our international posture. Some of those actors out there may decide to do some things they wouldn't do, figuring we're kind of low on ammo. And so I think that's an issue we have to look at here as we go forward. So anyhow, and of course the Homeland Security and border security is critical, which the Democrats continue to want to flood the country with illegal aliens and their bid to gain ultimate power. So, of course, 2029 is a year to be feared, because that's the year the country may change for the worse in an almost irretrievable way. So anyhow, on the other hand, I'm going to get into a couple of issues here. Though on the war, it looks like more and more U.S. ground troops are being moved into the theater or being prepared to be moved. Apparently a lot of special forces units, including Delta Force, the Navy DevGru, and some couple of special forces groups, Green Berets, are also moved, and the 75th Ranger Regiment, at least a couple of battalions of that, I think, and the Night Stalkers. So I don't know whether they're going to try something like my idea that I proposed some time back of taking Carg Island or not. Actually, as things develop, I'm a little bit less enthusiastic about that. Because at the time I said that, it looked to me like they didn't really have a lot of defenses there. But now I understand that more elite elements of the Iranian military, the Revolutionary Guard Corps people, have been moved in there since then. And apparently our air attacks haven't been effective enough of keeping them out, potentially. And if they are there, and I understand now that they have actually had a fair amount of drone training, apparently by the Russians. And so we're going to, if we go in there, we're going to be in the beehive of these, light drones with explosive charges like they use in Ukraine-Russia war all the time. And so this could be a situation, because our troops are not really trained to deal with this very much. They don't have experience with it. And it's a very nasty thing. So I don't know, getting ground troops in there, I don't know. If we got to be very careful. I mean, we could seriously lose some very elite units or have them heavily mauled in a situation which is, early on, if we'd done it with surprise, I think it might have worked, because these people wouldn't be in place, and these FPV drones, I don't think, can reach all the way from the Iranian coast over there. I think that's a few miles too many, potentially. Now, the bigger drones can, and that's the kind of attack that you'd still face, those kind of attacks. The question always was on that is that if they use too much firepower to bring to bear, even artillery, on that facility, they would be destroying their own oil terminal, which means that they would be basically a long time from being able to export much oil again, which would wreck their economy in the post-conflict environment. And it also would be very damaging to China's economy too, right? And the world economy. So that becomes a problem. The thought I had was, if you could take it and temporarily shut off the oil to China, that might bring diplomatic pressure on Iran to make some kind of a deal. The question, though, of course, is, on our side, we still have people pushing for some kind of ultimate victory, which is dubious, in my opinion, whether that's going to be achieved, because I think the ability of the Iranians to take incredible punishment and just let their country be destroyed is probably pretty high. And I'm thinking of a sort of like the Germans in World War II. The Nazis never really surrendered until the end, until they were pretty much extinguished. And There's actually the regular German general staff that surrendered, while the other people fled, if you will, so, or committed suicide. So, mostly fled, but a few top ones, Hitler and Goebbels, committed suicide. So the point is that we're in a real mess because of this situation, and we'll have to see. On the other hand, another development that's coming up, which I was looking into, is that the whole Belushi situation, which, if you look at the area in southern Iran, there's an area there where they border Pakistan. And there's an ongoing kind of area of Baluchistan, which is an ethnic group, and they're kind of separatists from both countries. And so we have interesting situations where there's kind of a common interest of the two countries to keep them under control. And the way it's been done historically is they attack each other's country. That is, the Belushis in each other's countries because of the actions these people are taking, where they want an independent. It's not, sort of like the Kurds are up in the northern areas. Well, there's another group like that there. And this is all a consequence of historic colonialism, of course, which cut up areas that would otherwise be ethnically consistent areas and split them into different country sovereignties. And so but it's also possible that this sort of instability may put additional pressure on the Iranian government. That is, they'd have to divert efforts down there to deal with that too. So it's interesting. It's an interesting development, and it's also unclear exactly where what we would do with these troops we're talking about, the Marines. Apparently, they're waiting for the other MEU to come in there. I'm not sure which direction it's going to go. Are they going to? I think it's coming from the. I forget. Maybe it's coming from the Pacific too. Okay, is that coming from the California coast? I think. I'm not sure about that. If they're coming that way, but if anybody's trying to come through the Red Sea, that might set the Houthis off, and we got that whole thing. So anyhow, there's a whole ongoing conflict here, and the problem is this is not one you can just walk away from a practical point of view. This is already affecting our economy. It's going to affect the world economy, and ultimately, there's a lot of it will affect global agriculture. We could even be talking about global famines and mass fatalities throughout the underdeveloped world. So this is a serious situation, and we need to try to bring it to a close. And I think we're going to have to settle for something less than unconditional surrender in order to successfully do that. And or else we're talking about a much more prolonged war, which I don't think we have the political support at home to really stick with here. So anyhow, that's kind of my assessment at the moment, and we'll have to see what comes next. But it's kind of the key factors to consider. So as always, I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. So all for this time.